Mr. Speaker, I have been very clear that I am sorry and that I have made mistakes. But the right thing to do in those circumstances is to make changes, which I've made, and to get on with the job and deliver for the British people.
Breaking. Liz Truss just accused the British Prime Minister of hating his own country. And what happened next has triggered the biggest patriotic uprising in British history. Thousands of Union Jacks are flooding the streets of Birmingham. Asian business owners are demanding flags for their shops. Working-class families are taking back the symbol of Britain from political elites who abandoned them. But Keir Starmer's response has shocked the nation to its core. He just declared war on patriotism itself. And tonight, ordinary Britons are fighting back in ways that will reshape British politics forever. If you want to see how real people defeat establishment lies, hit that subscribe button right now. Because this story exposes the truth they don't want you to know about who really loves Britain. It started with 4 devastating words from Liz Truss that cut through decades of political correctness. Starmer hates our country. Speaking to GB News, the former Prime Minister didn't just criticise policy. She exposed something far more dangerous. The guy comes from the strand of left-wing thinking that hates our country, Truss declared, her voice steady with conviction. He loves international institutions like the UN. International law, the EU. That is Starmer. He hates our country. The words hit Westminster like a nuclear bomb. Not because they were shocking, but because everyone knew they were true. For months, Starmer had been attacking anyone who dared show pride in Britain. When Nigel Farage spoke to the US Congress about protecting free speech, Starmer's response was vicious. He's flown to America to badmouth and talk down our country. You cannot get more unpatriotic than that. But here's what Starmer didn't expect. The British people were listening, and they were getting angry. Farage had warned Congress about Britain becoming North Korea, a country where online posts could get you arrested at Heathrow, where working people faced government persecution for expressing opinions, where free speech was dying under authoritarian control. Instead of addressing these legitimate concerns, Starmer attacked the messenger. Instead of defending British values, he attacked anyone who dared speak them aloud. And that's when something beautiful happened. The people began to fight back. Across Birmingham, a grassroots movement was born that would change everything. It started with one man, Elliot Stanley, and his simple mission: put Union Jacks back where they belong, not as symbols of division, as symbols of unity. Raise the Colours began quietly. Stanley and his friend Ryan walking through working-class neighbourhoods, hanging flags on lampposts. What they discovered shattered every lie the establishment had told about modern Britain. The first person to ask for a flag? A young Asian woman walking home from her shift. "Can I please have a flag?" she asked. "I'd like to display one above my door." When offered a choice between St. George's and Union Jack, she chose Union Jack. She was over the moon. 3 taxi drivers stopped Stanley in one evening. All Asian. All asking for flags for their black cabs. A Muslim man approached the group, explaining his faith, then declaring, "This isn't about race. It's the flag of our country. It should be flying proudly." The curry house owner came out asking for a flag above his door. The micropub owner offered free beer in gratitude. Ordinary families stopped their cars to hug the flag hangers. Children offered chocolate bars. This wasn't the Britain that Starmer described. This wasn't far-right extremism. This was working people reclaiming their national identity from politicians who had abandoned them. But there was resistance, and it came from exactly where you'd expect. As flags multiplied across Birmingham, the attacks began. But not from ethnic minorities, not from immigrants, not from working families, from middle-class white liberals. "We had an incident with somebody being highly abusive to us," Stanley recalled. "He was a middle-class white chap riding his bike, screaming obscenities at us." While ordinary people of all backgrounds supported the flag movement, privileged elites were tearing them down. Every night, Stanley and his team would hang flags. Every morning, Dozens had been removed by people who couldn't bear to see symbols of British pride. "We finished about 9:30 last night," Stanley explained. "About 10 of them had been taken down by 7:30 this morning." The message was clear. The establishment would not tolerate patriotic expression, but Stanley's response was perfect. "We're going out again tomorrow night to erect them higher." This became the defining image of modern British politics. Working people putting up flags, middle-class liberals tearing them down, immigrants embracing British identity, elites rejecting it. And Starmer. He chose his side. Instead of celebrating unity, Starmer declared war on it. In Parliament, he dismissed the entire patriotic uprising as people hating their neighbours because they look different. He wasn't just wrong, he was lying. "To those who say that the only way to love your country is to hate your neighbour," Starmer lectured, "I say we reject you." But Stanley's movement wasn't about hating neighbours. It was about neighbours of all backgrounds coming together under one flag. Starmer then made his most revealing statement: "We know that you will never win because the British values we stand for is stronger than bricks." Notice what he didn't say. He didn't say our flag. He didn't say our country. He talked about abstract British values while attacking concrete expressions of British identity. This wasn't accidental. This was ideological warfare. When grooming gang victims demanded justice, Starmer called them far-right. When working families flew flags, he called them racist. When patriotic citizens asked questions, he called them extremist. The pattern was clear. Anyone who loved Britain was the enemy. And that's when the establishment media joined the attack. Starmer announced plans to reclaim the British flag from so-called far-right protesters. The BBC amplified his message. Guardian columnists wrote think pieces about toxic nationalism. Sky News ran segments about divisive populism. They painted a picture of racist thugs hijacking national symbols. The only problem? It was completely false. Stanley's video evidence told the real story. Young Muslim women asking for flags, Asian taxi drivers displaying Union Jacks, immigrant families celebrating British identity, working people of all backgrounds united under common symbols. But the media ignored this reality. They preferred Starmer's narrative about racist extremists to the truth about patriotic unity. The contrast became impossible to ignore. Establishment politicians and journalists, overwhelmingly white and privileged, attacking flag displays, working people of all ethnicities defending them. Who really represented modern Britain? The diverse families hanging flags with pride? Or the elite politicians tearing them down in shame? Even Starmer's own supporters began to notice. Polling showed over half the country thought his leadership was pointless. His approval ratings collapsed among working-class voters he claimed to represent. But Starmer doubled down, and that's when Liz Truss delivered the final blow. "Starmer lecturing people about being unpatriotic is a joke," Truss declared on live television. "The guy comes from the strand of left-wing thinking that hates our country." Every word was calculated. Every accusation was documented. Starmer's record spoke for itself. He had spent years undermining British institutions, attacking British history, apologising for British achievements, embracing international organisations while dismissing national identity. He loves international institutions like the UN, international law, the EU, Truss continued. That is Starmer. He hates our country and comes from a long line of the left who think that way. The establishment went into damage control mode, but it was too late. The truth was out. Farage had already exposed how Starmer's government was implementing North Korea-style censorship, how British citizens faced arrest for social media posts, how free speech was dying under authoritarian control. Now Truss was exposing the deeper truth. This wasn't accidental. It was ideological. Starmer didn't just implement anti-British policies, he held anti-British beliefs. And across Britain, ordinary people were rejecting both. The flag movement exploded beyond Birmingham. From Manchester to Liverpool, from Newcastle to London, Union Jacks appeared on lampposts, shop fronts and taxicabs. This wasn't organised by political parties. This wasn't funded by corporations. This was organic, grassroots patriotism spreading through working communities. Stanley's simple message resonated everywhere. This isn't about race. It's the flag of our country. It should be flying proudly. Social media amplified every moment. Videos of Asian shopkeepers requesting flags went viral. Images of diverse families celebrating together broke engagement records. The hashtag number sign Raise the Colours trended for 6 straight days. The visual narrative was devastating for Starmer. While he talked about division, the streets showed unity. While he preached about tolerance, he practiced intolerance toward patriotic expression. Working people weren't buying his lies anymore. They could see the truth with their own eyes. Muslim taxi drivers displaying Union Jacks, Sikh shop owners asking for flags, Hindu families joining flag-hanging teams, all united by love of country that transcended ethnic divisions. This was the Britain that politicians had tried to erase. The Britain of shared identity and common purpose. The Britain that Starmer called far-right and Truss called patriotic. As this flag war continues, the battle lines are clear. On one side, Keir Starmer and the political establishment, privileged, white, metropolitan elites who see British symbols as embarrassing relics, who call patriotism, racism, and unity division. On the other side, working families of all backgrounds, taxi drivers and shop owners, nurses and teachers, immigrants and natives, all united by one simple belief: Britain is worth celebrating. The polls tell the story. Starmer's approval ratings collapse while patriotic sentiment surges. The Conservative Party sees opportunity. Reform UK gains momentum. Labour faces electoral catastrophe. But this is bigger than party politics. This is about national identity itself. Stanley's movement proved something powerful. Ordinary people want to love their country. They want symbols of unity, not division. They want to celebrate shared identity, not endless grievance. When politicians attack patriotism, working people defend it. When elites tear down flags, communities put them back up. When the establishment preaches shame, the people choose pride. Liz Truss exposed the truth about Starmer's anti-British ideology. Stanley's movement exposed the truth about British patriotism. Together they revealed the massive gap between political elites and ordinary people. That gap will decide Britain's future. And right now, the people are winning. What do you think? Is Starmer's war on patriotism destroying Labour? Are working people really reclaiming British identity? Tell us in the comments below. And if this story revealed truths the mainstream media won't tell you, share it with everyone who needs to see what's really happening on Britain's streets. The flag war is far from over. But tonight, patriotic Britain is flying high.